Hey y'all, thanks so much for joining us today at The Heart. My name is Dominic Insenius. I'm the leader of this church community, and I'm so grateful that you have taken some time out of your day in your journey of faith to be a part of what God is doing here in the city of San Marcos. We have a saying around here, you don't have to go to church here to go to church here, and that means you are welcome to enjoy this message from your tablet, phone, or computer, wherever you're watching it on. Big things can happen when we expect God to move. So I pray today that God would speak to you through this message. The message today can encourage you and empower you to move throughout your week and what's next in your life. So enjoy this message. Today, we are continuing our message series called Waymaker. And if it's your first time to the Heart, or your first time to the Heart in a long time, we have a message series every couple of weeks or so. We have a collection of talks, and we take some time to dig into a particular topic and see what we can learn, see how we can take that into our faith throughout the week. And with the Waymaker series, what we've wanted to do is, in the past, what we've looked at is how God has been able to make a way, right? We look at God as a waymaker. God is the one that does things. There's so many stories in the Old Testament, New Testament, throughout the Bible where God is making a way for the people that are following him, right? God is making a way for things to happen around his people. And what I would love to do for this series, these few weeks that we're going to be together talking about the Waymaker series, or talking about the Waymaker, is how are we able to partner with God? Are we empowered to make a way in our life? Are we empowered to make a way in the lives of others? And today what I want to do is maybe think about, there's a question I have for you that I want you to be thinking about, is who has made a way in your life for you to be where you are? Who has made a way for you to be where you are? I want you to be thinking about this. If you're taking notes, write this down so you can be thinking about it later throughout the week, whatever it is. Who has made a way for you to be where you are? Maybe in your job, who has made a way for you to be there? In the relationship that you're in the relationship you hope to be in. For where you are in life, who has made a way for you to be there? I was thinking about this this week, and there's I used to work kind of in corporate world, whatever, and I had my first job outside of a call center was in sales. Okay, it was the same company, but I moved up to the second floor, and that was a big deal in this place. So I'm just telling you, that was a big deal. Okay, just so you know, write that down if you're taking notes too. I got this job upstairs, the promised land upstairs. And I worked for a woman. Her name was Peggy Payne, and she hired me. I don't know why she did. I don't know why she hired me up there. I was young. I was like 23 years old, and I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about anything really. And you 23-year-olds that are here today, you guys know a lot. Trust me, you are in good shape. Don't let anybody tell you different. But I didn't know what I was doing. But she gave me a chance. She gave me a chance, and she was so good at giving me chances, giving me opportunities. I don't know how many times I probably messed things up, and she never made me feel like I messed something up. And she was so brilliant. I would write down in my little cubicle. It was very much like in movies, shows, that it was like that kind of thing. And in my cubicle, I had a little thing that I would write Peggy Payne-isms, okay, Peggy-isms. So she would come in and say something right over here. My cubicle was right by her office, and she would say something like, somebody got upset because they just heard something for the first time. Peggy said something, and they were like, well, we're just hearing this for the first time. And Peggy, I overheard this. She said, I'm saying it for the first time. You can't hear it for the first time until I say it for the first time. So I wrote that on my little board there in my cubicle. You can't hear it for the first time until Peggy says it for the first time. That's the kind of person. Peggy passed away a few years ago, and we've been able to. Peggy has been in my life. Peggy's family has been in my life for years and years. Almost 20 years is how long I've known the Payne family. And I was thinking about that because she's been on my mind a lot recently anyway, but I started to think that back then, 23 years ago, or I'm sorry, not 23 years ago, not 23 years ago, how long ago? Okay, yeah, 17 years ago. How old am I? Don't write that down. 17 years ago, when I was at a job that had nothing to do with church, that had nothing to do with ministry, it had nothing to do with God, I can see imprints of the person that I am now because I was able to be around Peggy Payne. The chances that she gave me allowed me to grow the confidence that I needed to do the things I would eventually do in life. So I wonder, that's why I'm asking, who in your life has made a way for you? Maybe someone, a coach when you were younger. Maybe your parents have done a good job making a way for where you are. Maybe it's some of us, our kids do a good job of encouraging us to be better moms and dads than we think that we can be. Maybe it's been someone like me in your life, someone who, when you were going to church, when you were younger, or whatever it is, and someone encouraged you and believed in you more than you believed in yourself. Who in your life has made a way? Now, I want to ask you this as well, because I know that not everyone in your life has been great. I know that not everyone in your life has always had the best in mind for you. I know that there are some people in your life, there's been some people in my life that have meant me harm. And not because they're evil, but because they have their own thing going on. I know that there are parts of your life that you don't like to remember, that you don't enjoy. One of those things. I've been divorced one time, just once. No more coming. Trust me. Write that down, please. Somebody write that down. Send it to me later. What a hilarious joke about ending a marriage. And so, but being able to be someone who has been divorced, that has also made a way in my life. Stay with me on this, okay? That has also made a way for me to be where I am in my life. Let me show you what I mean. Let me tell you what I mean. We're going to look at a piece of scripture today that is actually in the book of Genesis, okay? It's going to be old school, Old Testament. And I want to tell you a very, very small part of an amazing story of a young man named Joseph. If you have not read this story, I highly encourage you to read it this week on your own, or you can find this story. There's plenty of places you can listen to the Bible, and you can listen to the story. It's an incredibly amazing story. So I'm going to give you the shortest version possible. Otherwise, we'd be here for a few hours. So Joseph was a young man. He was a son of a man named Jacob. And Joseph, he's sometimes referred to as the dreamer, and his brothers couldn't stand him. They couldn't stand him. I'll tell you why. Because he would have a dream, and in this dream, he was worshipped by 12 stars or 12 moons or 12 suns. And he would go tell his brothers that, and can you guess how many brothers he had? And so his brothers are like, bro. They didn't say that exactly, but you know what I mean? And they didn't like him. So, guess which kid was their dad's favorite? Okay, you're keeping up, right? Yes, yeah, nailed it. 2 gold stars for this guy. Girl, guy, who said it? Which one? Okay, yeah. So, they're off doing something. I'm really shortening up. This is a terrible version of this story. They're off doing something. And the dad sends Joseph, go to your brothers. So Joseph goes out to where his brothers are. His brothers, this is how bad they don't like Joseph. They say, here's what we're going to do. We are going to kill Joseph and tell our dad that something else happened. And some of the brothers are like, we can't do that. Let's just throw him in this hole and leave him. And we didn't kill him. He'll just die. And then they had another idea. Let's sell him off as a slave to this caravan that's coming through. So that's what they did. They sold him off to slavery. They sold him off. And they go back and they tell their dad, Dad, something happened. We just came across his clothes and they were bloody. We think something happened in the woods. Something happened out in the wilderness. And so his dad's terrified and scared. And so you follow Joseph, and Joseph is a slave. And he gets purchased by a man named Potiphar. And he's such a good kid that he works his way up, and Potiphar, this rich man, makes him in charge of his estate. You're in charge of everything. You can run the other servants, manage my estate, whatever it is. And then Potiphar's wife gets her eyes on Joseph. He's obviously a handsome man, apparently, is what the story tells us. And she wants to kiss him. That is churched up for you. And she goes to kiss him, and he says, I'm not going to kiss you. You're the boss's wife. And he runs out of there. And when he runs out of there, she says, he tried to kiss me. And so they catch him, and now he's in big trouble because he tried to kiss this guy's wife. And he goes to jail. And he's in jail for years and years and years. And then the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, has a dream and says, I need someone to interpret this dream. And finally it gets around to Joseph. And Joseph says, I can interpret your dream. Remember at the beginning I said Joseph is a dreamer. He said, I can interpret your dream. Your dream means whatever it means. You got to read the story. I'm not going to tell you. And the Pharaoh is so impressed. The king of Egypt is so impressed that Joseph can interpret these dreams. He said, you got to stay around me. Does anybody have God in them like this kid Joseph has? And Joseph again rises to be second in command of Egypt. Has all of this power. I'm telling you guys, this is such a juicy story. So then there is a famine in the land. That's what the Pharaoh's dream meant. I know I said I wouldn't tell you, but I did. There was a famine in the land, and guess whose family was out of food? Take a guess. Joseph's family. And so they go to Egypt to get food from Pharaoh. And they don't recognize Joseph because everybody thinks Joseph's dead. And Joseph recognizes them. And that's what I want to, and I've skipped a lot, but I want to get to this part of the story. I don't have my Bible, so if you don't have your Bible with you, you can get your phone out and you can go to the YouVersion Bible app. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the YouVersion Bible app and follow along there. Genesis 45, 4 through 8. It says, it asked me, do you love the Bible app? And I had to say no because I meant that. I know that means they're going to ask me to review it, and I don't have time. So that's what I just had to be honest with you there, okay? It's like, yeah, I do love it. Like, I don't have time for this. Oh, that really happened. Genesis 45, verses 4 through 8. Okay, so he's there with his brothers. His brothers don't recognize him. Okay, because as far as they're concerned, he died years ago. Maybe he's got a tan. He's been in Egypt a long time. I don't know why they don't recognize him, but they don't. So he says, okay, come closer to me. Joseph said to his brothers, and they came closer. I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Don't feel badly. Don't blame yourselves for selling me. God was behind it. Stop right there for a second. God was behind it. It takes some serious perspective and some serious forgiveness to be looking at the people who have betrayed you in the deepest possible way and say, don't blame yourselves for what you did. Don't blame yourselves for what you did. Now remember at the beginning of this message, I asked you to be thinking about this question, and the question is, who has made a way for you to be where you are? Who in your life has made a way for you to be where you are emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially, whatever it is, professionally? Okay, let's keep going. God sent me here ahead of you to save lives. There has been a famine in the land now for 2 years, and the famine will continue for 5 more years, neither plowing or harvesting. God sent me on ahead to pave the way and make sure there was a remnant in the land to save your lives in an amazing act of deliverance. So you see, it wasn't you who sent me here, but God. He set me in place as a father to Pharaoh, put me in charge of his personal affairs, and made me ruler of all Egypt. God sent me ahead to pave the way. If you're taking notes, write this down, or you can just get your phone out and you can take a photo of the screen and write it down later. If I'm taking notes, don't look at my code. Not even prepared. Talk amongst yourselves. Even the parts of your story, if you're taking notes, write this down or take a photo of this. Even the parts of your story that you don't like make a way for you to become who God made you to be. Even the parts of the story that you don't like, the people in your life that have hurt you, the people in your life that have hurt you either intentionally or unintentionally, even those parts of your life make a way for you to become who God made you to be. How else could Joseph have wound up in Egypt under Pharaoh if it hadn't been for the steps that he followed? See, Joseph sees a bigger story happening than his own. Joseph sees that there are bigger things happening than his pain, than what he's going through. That takes a lot of perspective. And I'm not saying that's where you need to hurry up and be. I'm not saying that today's the day that you need to forgive everybody in your life who has ever done you wrong. But what I am saying is, what would it be like for you today if you were to let yourself have the perspective that even those parts of your story have led you to be the person that you are? What if those parts of your story, what if that person that hurt you or that situation you were in, that breakup, that divorce, or when you were fired, or those terrible coworkers that you currently have, they're the worst, right? What if those people help you to become stronger? What if those things that you had to deal with build up a resiliency in you that you otherwise wouldn't have if you hadn't gone through those things? So it's easy to look at our story. It's easy to look at the parts of our story that we don't like and to see the problems. It's easy to look at those and say, my life would have been so much better if it hadn't have happened. But could we be the person that we are? Are we still on the way to becoming who God has made us to be? Who in your life has made a way for you to be where you are? The truth is, that's not always going to be a fun question to answer. The truth is, that could be a very difficult question to answer. Because there have been people in my life, and whether they intended to or not, I was harmed mentally, emotionally, by what they said, by what they did, by what they put me through, whatever. And I can let myself be a victim to what has happened to me. But it's all perspective, because see, Joseph, what he went through, people lied about him, his brothers betrayed him, he was in jail for something he didn't do. It would have been so easy, it would have been so easy for him to say, God isn't real. If he is real, he doesn't care. If he does care, he's sure not listening. And I think if that's where you're at, if that's where you find yourself right now in life, or you have before, or maybe you will in the future, I want to remind you that is a very human thing to feel. A lot of us, what we tend to do is we bounce back and forth between being upset at God or doubting our faith, and then we bounce from that into guilt for thinking that, guilt for feeling that, guilt for not believing what we used to believe, or whatever it is. And sometimes we just need to give ourselves a break. Sometimes we need to have patience with ourselves. We need to have grace for ourselves. I look at this story of Joseph, and I see someone who maybe I could be someone like Joseph, but I don't know. I would love to forgive the people in my life. I would love to be able to just easily forgive. And maybe it's not easy. You know, we read the story here, and maybe I shortened it up, but maybe the story, the author of this particular story, maybe they shortened up a lot too. Maybe there was some anguish, some anger that Joseph had to go through. I don't know if he would be human if there wasn't some anger he had to go through looking at the brothers that sold him off, and now that they're asking for help, now you need my help? That is I talk about the perfect opportunity for revenge, not forgiveness. What a missed opportunity for revenge. He really missed an opportunity there. But it seems like Joseph allowed himself to have a perspective that even though you were trying to harm me, you made a way for me to be the person that God had created me to be. You see that? It doesn't mean it was the only, it doesn't mean it was the way for Joseph to become who God had made him to be. See, that's tempting for us too, isn't it? It's tempting for us too to sometimes feel like I need to find the way. I need to make sure I have the right job. I need to make sure I'm with the right person. I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Is this the right church? Am I making the right decisions? And we can get caught up in that, and what that can do is cause some anxiety. Because what if you're wrong? What if you think you're with your soulmate and you're wrong? I mean, if you're dating. I don't mean if you're married. If you're married, you know what I mean? What is going on? We'll cut all this. Let's just start over. Welcome, y'all. My name is Dominic. It can be tempting. It can be tempting to be searching for the way. But when we see God as a waymaker, and we see ourselves as a waymaker, and we look at the people around us who have helped to make a way, it is making a way, not making the way. There is more than one path. So maybe Joseph would have gotten to be who he needed to be, who God needed him to be, the opportunities that he had, or it could have happened another way. The perspective that Joseph has, and maybe you and I can have, can see God working in the people that have helped to put us where we are, good or bad. The parts that we like or the parts that we don't like. Our perspective can shift and change how we see those parts of our life. Where we are in life is not just due to the decisions that we have made. People have helped make a way for us to be where we are. Okay, if you're taking notes, write this down. If we only see God as a waymaker, if we only see God as the waymaker, then we miss out on all of those around us that make a way for us. Talk about missing an opportunity to see the community around us and valuing the community around us if we're only saying and only seeing that God is the waymaker. Maybe that seems a little sacrilegious to you. Maybe that seems a little scary to say, well, God has to be the only one making a way. I don't know. I see people around me that some don't believe in God, some aren't sure. I can look throughout my life, and I wasn't always where I am on my journey of faith, even when I was young, but there were still people around me encouraging me, supporting me. Still people around me not doing things that I want, hurting my feelings, making things harder for me, whatever it is. And I can see that who I am today is a culmination of all of these things that have happened. And I hope that I haven't stopped growing. This is not the end. I'm not at the end of my life. I'm saying that we can continually become the people that God is creating us to be if we allow ourselves to see that God is not the only waymaker, that the people around us are making a way for us as well. And that is the heartbeat behind the Waymaker offering that started years ago. This idea of being a waymaker is if people have made a way for us, then that means that we are empowered to do the same. Take your notes, write that down. When others have made a way for you, when you see that others have made a way for you, you become empowered to do the same. What's incredible about stepping into what it means to be a waymaker is this, is we can make a way for people who will never meet, who will never see. Right? When we talk about, when up here, when Alex was telling us about what she does throughout the week, I bet some of you had no idea that stuff needs to happen throughout the week when it comes to the heart, when it comes to church in general. I was talking to somebody one time, and they asked me what I did, and I said that I work for a church. They're like, "You work for a church? What do you do? Just like say Hail Marys for 8 hours a day in your office?" And they were Catholic, I think. Some people don't know. And that's not, it's not that, there's this huge burden placed on people who work in ministry, but here's what I mean. Here's what I mean is when you take part in what is happening at the heart, or whatever church that you're a part of, or any nonprofit that you support financially, whatever it is, because there's some of us who would love to be able to help, right? I would love to be able to help as much as I can, but I don't have time during the week, or I don't have time in the evening, or I don't live close by, or whatever it is. But there are so many other things that we can do that help to make a way. That's why we talk about the Waymaker offering. You don't need to know all the technology behind live streaming to be able to help make a way for live streaming to happen. You see that? You don't have to know how to run QuickBooks and how to do all the administrative stuff for the heart to be able to be a part of what is going on here. Being a part of the Waymaker offering, you enable yourself, you empower yourself to be a Waymaker for people that you might never meet. We become empowered to do the same when we see that others have made a way for us. See that 17 years ago when I was working for Peggy Payne, she gave me so many opportunities to learn, to grow, to make mistakes. I was given so much room to make mistakes, to change something and whatever it was. I was given so much room to do that. And I can look back at the leadership that she gave me. And I worked for her, I can't remember what it was, maybe 2 years. And then there was an opening in the web department. And I was going to apply for that. And I didn't know this at the time, but she was having a lot of meetings with the person leading that department and trying to really beef up how much money I could possibly make through bonuses so that I could make more money in this other department. She did that without me asking her. And I found out later, after I already got that job over there, that Peggy had done so much stuff, all of these meetings, to talk me up so I could make more money over there. And this instilled in me a confidence that there were people around me who believed in me. And I went from this web department, learning all this stuff about tech, to leaving that job completely and having the confidence and the courage because of someone like Peggy who believed in me to step out of that job and start a business with a friend of mine. We were fixing computers. He was fixing computers. And I went from that to working at a church called Crossroads Church. And I went from working at Crossroads Church to getting a small group of people who had been burned by church and didn't like church at all. And I said, "What do you think about starting a church in San Marcos?" And here we are today with the heart. Who in your life has helped make a way for where you are? It's incredibly powerful to look back and see where you have come from and where that has made you be today. That is the perspective that we can have, this perspective of looking back and seeing how God works through those around us. I can even look back at my divorce, and I can see how that situation has helped make a way for the man I am now, for the husband I want to be, for the dad that I want to be, for the friend that I want to be, for the leader that I want to be. It's easy to paint people as villains. It would have been easy for Joseph to paint his brother as villains. In fact, if you're reading the story, you feel like they are the villains in this story. It's easy to paint people in our life as the villains, but it takes perspective, it takes maturity, it takes grace, it takes forgiveness, it takes intentionality for us to say, is God working even through that? Does God work only in the good things that happen to you, or is God at work all the time? That's a question that you can write down, take time to journal about that. Can you see God working in your life all the time? And if you can allow yourself to see that, then you can see the people who have been in your life as making a way for where you are today. If you could for a moment, close your eyes and bow your head. I want to pray for you this morning. God, we are so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to see you working in our life, to see you working in and around us through the people that you have put in our life. God, we want to be grateful today. Grateful for the opportunity, for the good and the bad, for the parts of our story that we love, the parts of our story that we hate. God, I pray that you would give us the perspective that we need to see you in all of that. Give us the courage that we need to see you in all of those areas. We pray that in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all, thanks so much for joining us today at The Heart. To find out what is next for you in your journey of faith, I want to invite you to go to theheart.church/next, see what's in store for you, get in touch with us. We would love to be able to connect with you and see how we can partner with you in your journey. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.